All right, everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about something a little different than what we talk about normally. I guess it's still in line with what I normally discuss, but I usually don't cover this type of video, I guess, because it's kind of crass, but we're going to do it anyway because I think it's important today. I guess I'll rewind a little bit so you guys have a little bit more context. My editor, Cherry, for some reason pulls more engagement on Twitter than me. I don't know why. Their posts are just so much more based than mine. There's nothing I can do about it, and it's just how it goes. More engagement than me. And in line with that, my epic editor ended up getting 36,000 likes on a post quote tweeting a viral Twitter video saying, "Why are men so obsessed with justifying situations of enacting violence towards women?" That's what Cherry said. Just an absolute banger. Look at that. Oh, look at that. 91 quotes. Uh-oh. Ooh, I am scared to click that button. You know what? I'm not even tempted. I'm not even tempted to click that button. Regardless, let's take a look at the video that Cherry was quote tweeting. This video, of course, is 7,000 likes, which is at least less likes than Cherry got on their tweet quote tweeting it. So that's pretty based. But, you know, there's still a fair amount of people who saw this and were like, yeah. So it is a video captioned, "Young girl fuck around, then finds out." It's only 17 seconds long. So, let's watch. Let's see what happens.
Really, did anything? Okay, go.
Whoa, Joshua, stop!
So, I heard she got med evac'd. Yeah, she had to get carried out, like, to the hospital. Like, she was very badly hurt. Like, he really hurt her. What he probably did was slam her to the ground very hard, and then he started kicking. And that's what we saw when they came around the corner. All we know about what happened here, as far as I know, is what we saw in the video, okay? Let's break down what happens here, all right? You've got this girl. She's there holding a drink, and this guy starts approaching her. One thing you'll notice is she's backing up, and he's approaching.
Really?
She's backing up and he's approaching. She's backing up and he's approaching. She's backing up and he's approaching.
Okay.
She's backing up and he's approaching. Like, how many steps has it been now? Has anybody counted the amount of steps back she's taken? Obviously, she's smiling and it seems like a playful situation, but this honestly looks like creepy. Like, this seems like women don't typically douse dudes with a drink after backing up 6 paces from them for no reason because they're just having a joking, friendly engagement. Like, this seems like this is her trying to maintain composure in a, like, scary situation. And yeah, possibly. Yeah, it's possible the second she dropped the smile, he could have attacked. And that was what she was thinking. What we saw here, let's count how many steps she took back before she splashed him with her drink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 steps back. 6 paces back before he reaches out into her personal space and she whooshes the drink. I don't know what situation was happening here. By the looks of it, it looks not good. What it looks like here is like he's reaching for her drink or like being a creep. Whatever it may be, it is obvious she doesn't want to be near him. She's backing up and he is aggressing. And she defends a movement towards herself, and he responds to that with the most over-escalation of violence I've ever seen. The fact that he was willing to engage in such over-escalation of violence tells me right away, most likely he was being a creep beforehand. No guy whose response to getting doused by a girl he was reaching for to beat the shit out of her and send her to the hospital, no guy who is like that doesn't go to the bar and act like a creep with women. Like, I'm pretty sure he was being a psycho before it escalated to this. Future cop, real. Yeah, anyway, you have a lot of accounts like this. This isn't the only video like this, but there are a lot of accounts like this online that are centered around women, quote unquote, fucking around and finding out. Now, the incel community has grown significantly in both number and strength in the last few years, and due to that, we've seen a large growth in resentment for women. And because of that, we've also seen a large market in content centered around woman hatred growing, right? So even if it's just Twitter accounts that are like, for example, there's a very popular Twitter account that I featured in one of my tweets recently. It's a gimmick account. I think my tweet was, "This is the final evolution of Twitter gimmick accounts." Blacks taking L's at and posting F's is the at. So it's literally just, yeah. There was also one that was called "Rape Victims Taking L's" as well, which is a pretty big account too. Yeah, this is Elon Musk's Twitter, guys. Elon Musk is doing a really good job of running Twitter. Elon Musk is doing a really good job of running Twitter. Literally joined when Elon Musk acquired the site. Yeah. Cruelty is a virtue to these people, remember. Rape victims, women, trans people, all marginalized groups that the right sees as inferior to them. Cruelty to them and like being as evil and inhuman to them as possible is a virtuous act. It is the greatest of virtues to make a rape victim upset, for example, because they won't outright say it, but conservatives believe rape is a thing that, as long as it's like a grown man raping a girl of, frankly, any age in their mind, that the man is entitled to that, that is an okay, natural thing. That is their view. They can't outright say it because that's demonic, but, you know, it's very clear that's what they actually believe. So we also have this video that I think also gives a little bit of an insight into, I think, the level of, like, entitlement the average conservative has. You guys might not believe me when I say this, but, like, look at this clip and tell me that these people aren't mostly, like, demonic.
I started to notice weird things happening with my kids. So the first one was my eldest son. A few years ago, I said, give me a kiss goodnight or a hug goodnight, whatever. And he went, "No, you need to ask my consent." And I was like, "Do I?" And he said, "Yeah, at school they say you've got to ask consent." And I said, "I'm your dad." And he said, "Yeah, but you still have to ask consent." And I went, "Okay, we're going to have a little lesson on consent here. Consent is don't touch a stranger's private parts, all right? That's consent. Don't invade someone's space in that part. I'm your father." So anyway, I wrote to school and I said...
So for conservatives, it has been very important to narrow down the definition of, not narrow down, but to broaden the definition, not quite, but to non-consent, the concept of non-consent. Conservatives have worked very hard to muddy the concept of that, right? For example, it was pretty clear and I think agreeable that if a woman is very drunk, like really drunk, like blackout drunk, and she seems interested in having sex with you, you should not pursue sex with that woman because she is in an inebriated state and can't consent to a hookup or to, like, sexual engagement. Obviously, there are situations like maybe if you're, like, in a long-term relationship and you just drank and you're both drunk and you're like, "Oh, let's bang," like, that's fine. But, like, if you're at a bar and a girl's blackout drunk and wants you to take her home, you shouldn't do it because she can't. She's not making reasonable decisions, and you should know she's not making reasonable decisions. That's part of what being informed and educated about what consent is, knowing and recognizing when somebody who seems like they're consenting to something isn't and can't. The law agrees with this, by the way, chat. You guys think that, like, a dude can get away with saying, "Oh, that girl told me she was 18. Like, no. No, that's not how it works. You are responsible for determining whether or not the other party is even capable of consenting in the first place. Them just seeming to enthusiastically consent isn't enough. And I'm not just making this as some lefty, like, argument in favor of whatever. I'm saying this is, like, just to inform people about what won't get them arrested and what will get them arrested, we should be teaching about consent. Shouldn't we be teaching about what is and isn't illegal? to children? Because I think it's better they know, because ignorance is no excuse for not for like breaking the law. That is the rule here in America, at least.
What's going on here? Because he's obviously not understood consent. And they said, well, we don't really get to the sexual part of it until later. And I said, well, you can take it from me. I've just taught both of my children consent, lesson 1.
Wait, I like how he just admitted, he just admitted the entire game there. He let it slip. The kid said, well, we weren't taught about like sexual consent. We won't get to that till later. We're just talking about like, don't keep your hands to yourself. Like literally all the kid was like learned at school was keep your hands to yourself, said that to his dad when he didn't want to be touched. And his dad was like, well, now let me give you the sex talk now. And the kid's like, whoa. No, I wasn't talking about sex or anything like that, Dad. Like, we're not learning about that till later. We're just talking about, like, keeping your hands to yourself. Like, it is the parent that made it weird. It's always the homophobic, like, weirdo, conservative parent that makes it weird. The kid is almost always more mature about, like, sex or consent or any of these situations when they come home from school talking about it than their own parent is. And their parent is the one that makes it weird. Almost every time, that's how it goes. Isn't it fucking weird that these conservatives, like, project about how, like, these teachers are going to mess up our kids' brains talking about this or that. Meanwhile, like, their kids come home with, like, a decent understanding of the issue, talk to their parents about it, and their parents lose their shit and then confuse their kids. That's always how it goes.
In about 5 minutes. And then, I started going, okay, well, where is this stuff coming from? So it comes out of relationship sex education classes and PSHE and stuff like that. So I got some lesson plans from another school and found out what was on it, which is privilege, skin color privilege, gender ideology.
These evil concepts like diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, all of the things that you just don't want kids being taught at a young age when they're confused as it is.
Okay, so a huge aspect of these people's grift is to claim that children are, like, completely incapable of reason. Like, that if kids are exposed to... Okay, so to be clear, there is no universe in which, like, teaching kids something that is correct or good is bad. No one would agree with that idea, right? So while they can't outright say being trans is bad or being like equity is bad or equality is bad or inclusion is bad, they can't outright say that. They have to say it's a narrative that's being shoved down kids' throats while they're too young to understand it. They're too confused. What the fuck are you talking about? Childhood is when people develop their moral, like, systems. Usually that comes along a little later, but it's usually when you want to start the groundwork for it. This is, like, inarguable, but the right will pretend it's not.
And so I thought we got to change that. So we're going to do that as well. That's what we're
He, by the way, he literally let it slip earlier in this clip that the classes weren't talking about sex and they're not going to be getting to that until they're older. Meanwhile, he's trying to drum up this hysteria about how kids are learning this too young. And the kid was like super mature about it and even was like, no, Dad, we weren't learning about sex. It's not till we're older. Like, he let slip. That's what the kid said. Why would he have let that slip? Oh, I'm guessing this guy's not as, I guess this guy on trigonometry is not as well trained of a media demagogue. Like a right-wing media-trained professional, you know?
Our next sort of cultural project, which is going to be called Bad Education. We decided to put bad in front of everything.
Yeah, no shit. You guys aren't very creative or smart. Yeah, these people do think the concept of education is bad because the more educated you are, typically, the more progressive you end up being. That's just generally how it goes. I mean, like the data is pretty solid on that, and that's even despite the fact the more money you make, the more likely you are to vote Republican. Depending on the area. It really depends. A lot of people will make these generalizing statements, but it does depend on the area. Like, if you live in the South, you're more likely to vote Republican if you're poor. But if you live, like, in a more blue state, you're probably more likely to vote Republican if you're rich. Like, in LA, for example, like in California, the rich people vote Republican. It's the more middle class, like upper middle class and like lower, like literally working class people that are voting Democrat. All the rich people are voting to lower their taxes. Because, God, taxes in California are insane. You don't even know. Beta Leafy, I appreciate the $5 donation. Says, I'll never forget this one video of a girl who painfully pushed a guy away and he beats the shit out of her. It scared the shit out of me and always replays in my nightmares. Yep. These people are just really disgusting. Like, the reason why I wanted to play the video of the woman getting assaulted and that video next to each other is because even though they're very different clips, I think they give a direct insight into the mind of the average conservatoid, rightoid, whatever you want to call them. These people, on one hand, are trying to destroy the very concept of consent being taught to people as like a value or a virtue that you should uphold, while on another hand, like actively cheering for the assault of women, like for defending themselves by the looks of it, for anything basically, just assaulting women. They cheer it on. These people are monsters. They really are. I don't really... I feel like back during the Gamergate era, back when like right-wing politics was more like Gamergate era-esque, you know, with all the euphemism and dog whistles that they used at the time, it was easier to understand how these people could maybe like not be pure evil, but also say and believe these things. Now, I can't really see it. Maybe it's my fault, but I feel like these people's like beliefs have gotten so demonic and so insane and so hateful. They're not, there's no universe in which you can think they're good faith or good people. Is it me or have they really just gotten that bad? Regardless, there's really not much else to say about this. The right has gotten progressively worse and worse. They are genuinely nightmare people, and I don't know what else to say. I guess that's it.